My next guest is a Golden Globe winning Irish icon who has lit up the big and small screen for over 40 years in everything from Miller's Crossing to The Usual Suspects and In Treatment to The War of the Worlds, proving that any Late Late Show is always so much better when Gay Byrne is here. We are delighted to welcome home to Dublin, Mr. Gabriel Byrne! Great to have you here. It's great to have you home.
Yes, well, it is home. I don't think I've ever really left it. I mean, I don't consider myself to be anything else except, from Dublin, from Walkinstown in Dublin.
You're getting the two thumbs up there, yeah, from up the top.
From Walco, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great week to have you back. It's been a big week for Ireland, new president. We said goodbye to our old president, Michael D. Higgins, who I know you go way back with. You have a lot of time for Michael.
Oh, I think we were absolutely blessed in having such a magnificent president, a representative of our country, a poet, a public intellectual, a campaigner, a global campaigner. He had walked the walk long before he ever got to Áras an Uachtaráin. He was a brilliant minister of the arts. And
he actually gave you your IFTA, your lifetime achievement.
That's right, he did. He presented it to me. And he's a wonderfully accessible man. And we've been very lucky, really, in terms of the presidents that we've had. Mary McAleese, Mary Robinson. And sometimes I wish we'd vote that way when it came to the general elections, but that's just my opinion. I think Catherine Connolly, is going to be a wonderful representative of the country. She's empathetic, compassionate, intelligent. She speaks to people and for them, and I think she reached people with her own sense of dignity and reality. And the same thing, I think, has happened in New York, in the States. And the new mayor.
Yeah, Mamdani.
Mamdani. He won because he was talking to people about the reality of their lives. He was talking about putting food on the table. He was talking about transportation, of childcare, things that really mattered to people. And I think he's given a great deal of hope to other people around the country who can begin to see that maybe it's time for the old guard in the Democratic Party to move on, because the reality is I think they have lost, and did quite a long time ago, lose touch with the American working class, who are now beginning to become really disillusioned and leading into a kind of anger. And he will have not just an effect on New York, which is the financial capital of the world, but on every state in America, but worldwide as well. People will look at him and say, what is this guy fighting for? He's fighting for people against, in my opinion, the great enemies of our modern age, the bankers, the billionaires, the politicians who are in their pockets. And these, I was going to say go boys, but these guys from Silicon Valley. And that is the monolith that we're fighting, because they are the ones together who are responsible for the huge disparity between the haves and the have-nots. And working people, I know people where I live who are working 3 jobs, spending their money on childcare, going to and from work. That is the reality of most people's working class lives there. And I live in a place where there are quite a few Trumpers, and they tend to be painted with the same brush, that they're all these crazy people. I think when Trump rode into town, people were angry, they felt disenfranchised, and they were ready to be led. And they voted for this guy who has not fulfilled the promises.
You know, I'm listening to you here now, and I can see, you know, how passionate you are, and I can see the fire in your belly. And I mean, that's something that you've always had. I mean, this is a picture that we found of yourself, Mick Lally and Michael D. This is you guys back in Galway in 1989 campaign, and that's you. That's very much the Labour Party meets Roxy Music look there that you're busting, Gabriel. It's. I mean, were you ever tempted yourself to go down the political route?
You know, I could never belong to a party. I really, truly couldn't sit there and listen to somebody, you know, generalise about the reality of life. I think that the older I get, the more I value independence. The reason why I'm doing this book festival in Dingle is because I really do believe in independent bookshops, independent coffee shops, independent clothes shop, anywhere there's independence and it's not a monolithic chain. Like, I don't want to go to Lapland and get the same coffee that I do in, you know, Offaly. I want to go to a place where there's a guy working behind the counter that I can look at and say, this is his business. And
you'll get that in Dingle.
You'll get that in Dingle. And so anywhere we can, to me, it's about saying to these monolith companies, like, we won't mention their names, but they've taken so much of what belongs to us. They've taken over our lives in the most subtle way, and now it's almost impossible to fight back against them. If you want to stage a protest, let's say, for example, against Fox Television, you go to that building. It's 100 stories high. You won't even get past the desk. And I think that one of the things that, again, going back to Mandami, is that in movies, you always find the plot of the movie is some man, Spider-Man, or, you know, one of those creatures comes in, half man, half fly, or whatever. He comes in and he rescues everybody. And they all say, oh, here he is, here's Batman, etc. But what that inculcates in people is the idea that one man will save everybody. And whereas the reality is that the only people who can change anything is us.
I mean, one of the things that... One of the reasons why we are so proud of you is because you're one of the people that changed Irish film industry, you know, forever. Before, you know, you were starting out, there was a group of actors. There was yourself, there was Liam Neeson, Pierce Brosnan, who broke through, and, you know, you were one of our first international stars. What was it like at that time, trying to break out of the stereotypical roles that Irish actors were getting and to get to where you got to?
Well, I think, you know, films and television reflected the general feeling, I'm talking about Britain now, about how people in Britain felt about Irish people. This was the 80s, and what they called the Troubles was going on in the north of Ireland. And you had to be very careful how you spoke, when you spoke, where you spoke. I mean, you wouldn't know about that. And so that was reflected in fiction. So from an Irish actor's point of view, or indeed an Irish audience point of view, what you saw was scripts written by non-Irish people, acted by usually British actors, and in the background you'd have Irish actors. And the scripts reflected the status quo's perspective on Ireland. Drunks, terrorists, priests, stupid. I remember there was one script that I read, I couldn't believe I was actually reading it, but it was about an SAS guy. Yeah. An SAS guy, yeah. Infiltrating a terrorist organisation in the north of Ireland, who walks into a crowded pub in Belfast and says, you know, pretending he was undercover, but he was pretending to be one of them. He says, I say, barkeep, could I have a pint of your best black bitter? Whoever went into a pub and said that, you'd be immediately taken outside and talked to. You know,
you'd say it once.
You'd say that would be the end of it. But, you know, there was that was the perception of Irish people. And it wasn't that long after no dogs, no blacks, no Irish. And there's still a little bit of that
There is still a bit of that, but you know, you were a trailblazer. You broke down those barriers, and when you see the new generation of Irish actors, Jessie Buckley and Mary Keoghan and people like that coming through, I mean, how does it make you feel that now Irish actors are going around the world and playing, you know, international roles?
Oh, it's absolutely wonderful. It's so heartwarming to see these great young actors come through with none of the baggage and the history that, you know, that we had, because we had to fly to London to do auditions on the same day. We'd have, you know, basically collect your dole in the morning, see if you had enough, get to London, get back on the same day and audition for whatever was going over there. But I left England because I didn't fit in there. I was always an outsider, and I thought, well, maybe in America I'll be judged in a different way. And I was judged in a different way. They didn't have the same attitude at all. I'm not saying that everybody in the British theatre and film establishment was like that, but it was suddenly like they discovered that Irish people could speak English. You know, and they said, well, what about that guy over there, Colin Farrell? What about him? Yeah. Yes, let's get him on board. It's changed so much for these young actors, and I'm really thrilled that they're doing so well globally as actors rather than Irish actors, because they're not known as, or if somebody says, "Oh, Paul Mascott, where's he from? Is he Scottish?" Or, you know,
he's an actor first.
He's an actor first. Yeah.
I gave myself a wee treat there during the week, and I was rewatching Into the West.
Oh.
And Ireland has changed so much. Looking at that movie, Ireland has changed so much since then, but the themes in it, you know, the line at the end, you know, there's a bit of the traveller in everybody, but
yeah,
very few of us know where we're going. You know, it still resonates.
It's a powerful film for children because it deals with the most complex feelings and emotions, and it addresses them to children in a way that they can connect with. It doesn't talk or condescend or avoid. It deals with death, the death of the mother. It deals with the disenfranchised community. It deals with fatherhood, motherhood, a man trying to bring up these two children by himself. Some of the lines I've never forgotten, that last line that you quote, where oh, they're gone. Where Rory says, are we travellers, Daddy? And he says, yes, son, we're all travellers, except very few of us know where we're going. And it was a beautiful film, I thought.
You know, what's lovely just listening to you, that's fresh in your memory, but I didn't realise that you don't watch any of your movies back. You know, when you do iconic stuff like that, you know, when you do something like The Usual Suspects celebrating 30 years since its release, I suppose with something like that, you don't have to, because do people come up to you and quote you lines from it, or?
Yeah, I once met a man in New York who said, would you mind if my friend came over to say hello? And I said, sure. He came over and he started at the very first line of The Usual Suspects, and he was like 25 lines into it. And I said, no, stop. How do you know this? And he said, his friend said it was the last movie he saw before he went blind.
Wow. Wow.
And I'll tell you an interesting thing about the Into the West thing as well. A priest came up to me one day and he said, you know, he said, I want to thank you because my mother had Alzheimer's, and I used to bring her to the movies just to, you know, give her a day out. And he said the last thing she said in her life that made sense, she was in the horrors of Alzheimer's, but she came out of it, she was watching a movie, and she pointed at the screen, she said, Gabriel. And he said that was the last moment he ever really connected with her. But in terms of watching oneself, no, I don't know if you've ever watched a video of yourself.
Sadly, I have.
Yeah.
Gabriel,
yeah.
I mean, it's, my back catalogue's not just as impressive as yours, to be fair.
But would you show somebody a photograph of themselves, and I think this is almost universal, people say, oh my God, I don't look like that, do I? Or they'll hear a recording.
That's a bad one of me, yeah.
Oh my God, do I sound like that?
Yeah.
geez, are my ears that big? You know, we're incredibly critical.
Okay, I get the
that.
picture, Gabriel.
Yeah. I don't. No, but I think I don't do it at all because, first of all, there's nothing you can do about it to change it, and it's also a horrible experience. I remember I was in Germany once in a hotel room in Munich, and I was jet lagged. And I woke up and there was a load of chocolates leading to the fridge. And I thought, oh no, I'm after eating the minibar. And then I turned on the television and I was on the TV speaking in German. And I was going, where's the... It was just too much in the dark room. So no, I don't.
Okay. You know, at the heart of movie making is story, isn't it?
Yes.
And, you know, when you're going down to Dingle to, you know, that literary festival, what is it, do you think, that Irish writers... an Irish story seems to be able to travel around the world with ease?
I think we've, you know, because of colonialism, our culture was suppressed, buried, denied, and we went underground, and we went into an oral tradition where poems were passed from one person to another, or stories were told around the fireside. That was a form of theatre. And what was in play there was the imagination. And we always had access to that great imagination because we really had access to very little else. So I think we've always retained this power of imagination and the power to tell a story. And when Irish people are on their game and you get a good storyteller, there's nobody quite like them. Because almost everything that I find, well, of course, there's a quota of boredom too, but people will tell you a story. And they won't just say, well, I met your man in the, you know, in the main street yesterday. They'll say, do you know who I met yesterday? And you're immediately in this place saying, who? Well, I was coming down Dominic Street. You know where the pub there is on the corner?
And we're off.
Where your man fell off his bicycle. Well, not that place, the other place. So you're into a story about something that's completely mundane. And we love stories, and we love to be told them, and we love to listen to them. And I think our connection with the world of imagination allows us to be. So when we got the pen in our hand in the 19th century, and we had imbibed Gaelic culture up till then, and we kind of married it with the English language, and as Oscar Wilde said, you gave us your language, but we returned it with beauty. We made our own language and our own way of communication. We're still brilliant story. Again, Oscar Wilde said, the Irish are the greatest storytellers since the Greeks. And I really believe that. I think we have that rare gift. And look at the amount of writers that we have, man. I mean, it's just astonishing. Musicians, writers,
Actors,
painters. We have a fantastic cultural imprint around the world. And that is really soft power that goes around the world that people say, oh, you're Irish. Oh, James Joyce or whatever. Our culture goes before us in a way. But there was a time when those stereotypes that I'm talking about were in America and elsewhere. We have demolished those stereotypes. So if somebody hints to me that, you know, a guy said to me in London, you like this guy, bro? Irishman walks in a bar. I said, stop right there.
Yeah.
No.
Behave yourself.
No. We are an incredibly we're a nation that people look to and respect and admire. And we have so much to offer. And I just want to see the Irish character be protected from global infiltration. I want us to retain our own character, speak our own language. Because one of the awful things about colonialism, it makes you feel ashamed of your own culture. Irish is something you shouldn't speak. Oh, you shouldn't be doing football, hurley. No, it's all. No, I think we're coming into a place now where we are beginning to, at last, embrace the richness and the power of our own culture. And we don't have to look anywhere else to get it.
And Gabriel, listening to you tonight, I have to say, listening to you tonight. You are a huge part of that. And we thank you for it. And we're very proud of you, and we're delighted to have you here tonight. You're going to stay with us?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Gabriel Byrne. Gabriel Byrne.